Xiao, my hair is messy. Chu Qiao acknowledged his statement as she picked up a white jade comb, unraveling his hair. The teeth of the comb brushed against his hair as her pale white hands caressed his temple, strand by strand. In that instant, they seemed to relive the memories and experiences that they had gone through together all these years. Her hands started to quiver, but he did not seem to know as he did not turn his head around. Xiaoche, please, don't leave. This is such an emotional part. Don't forget to subscribe. Be ready for your tissues or handkerchief. After combing his hair, he turned around, and while grinning from ear to ear, asked, "How do I look?" His eyes were dark and hollow as the moonlight illuminated his face with a thin veil of whiteness. He seemed ever so handsome with his long and narrow eyes and tall nose, along with his porcelain-like face. He exuded the aura of royalty. Yet, a glimpse of death spread from within the center of his eyes as his complexion turned an unnatural white, like white jade covered with dust. Chu Qiao forced a smile. "You are exceedingly handsome." Xiaoche frowned and asked, "Are you praising me?" Seeing Chu Qiao nod, he then smiled happily, like how he had when he first met her. "Xiaoche?" Chu Qiao tried to suppress the sadness in her heart as she asked softly, "Do you have any wishes in your heart?" "Wishes?" Xiaoche frowned and thought for a while before lightly laughing. "I have none." His breath suddenly started to grow light and hurried. Stretching out at her, Xiaoche lightly asked, "Qiao, let me hug you." The wind outside suddenly got stronger and blew open the small window. The moon colored the huge hall a milky white, and the surroundings were all polished, white like snow. Wind blew from the Taiching pond from afar, bringing with it a waft of a lotus aroma. Chu Qiao's throat seemed to have been bitten by someone and hurt significantly. Kneeling on the ground, she leaned into his bosom as tears rolled down her face, wetting his clothes. The breathing on the top of her head gradually vanished, like the sakura blossom that had fallen without any sound left. With the moon shining from the side, it was as though time had reversed, as the attractive man in crimson clothes, with his jet black hair, landed behind her, asking her, "Are you not stopping?" Time was like a dream, and as the grandiosity faded away, only a vast emptiness was left. Chu Qiao's eyes were like a piece of amber that shimmered alone, glimmering with a dying light. With her hollow eyes, she sat up and looked over. He merely sat there silently, with his head slanted as though he had sunk into a deep dream. The fragments of memory started to fall apart, as the man who had been covered with a facade of royalty and wealth had shed his disguise layer by layer. Whether it the beautiful women he had courted, or the luxuries he had enjoyed, all but loneliness had vanished, like the dying lights of a setting sun, dissolving into the darkness of the night. The doors to the room suddenly opened, and the pale moonlight illuminated her figure. One could see a crowd of officials and ladies kneeling in the distance. Sundi stared at her with a question in his trembling eyes. She stared back at him, completely without a soul in her eyes, and her entire body felt numb. Ultimately, she still slowly nodded. "The Emperor has passed on." Thank you so much for watching. Stay with me, subscribe to the channel, and like the video. Don't forget to click the bell icon to be notified of the next part of the story. Thank you.